The restaurant's ambient lighting cast soft shadows across the empty chair, mocking Emma's hope with every passing minute. She checked her phone again, 7:47 p.m. 47 minutes late. Around her, couples laughed over wine, their happiness a stark contrast to the hollow feeling growing in her chest. This blind date, arranged by her well-meaning sister, was supposed to be different. He was supposed to be different. A successful businessman, kind, looking for something real. But the empty chair told a different story, one she'd heard too many times before. Emma signaled for the check, blinking back tears she refused to let fall in public. She deleted the dating apps last month, sworn off blind dates last week, and here she was again, dressed in her best navy dress, hair carefully styled, hope carefully packaged and presented to someone who couldn't even bother to show up. She was reaching for her purse when two small figures appeared at her table. Twin boys, no older than 7, with matching mops of dark curly hair and identical worried expressions. They wore little suit jackets that seemed too formal for their age, and their brown eyes held an urgency that stopped Emma mid-motion. "Are you Emma?" the first boy asked, slightly breathless. "Miss Emma Carter," the second one added, as if they were conducting official business. Emma's confusion must have shown on her face because the first boy quickly continued, "We're looking for Emma Carter. Our dad is supposed to meet her here. Are you her?" Her throat tightened. So he'd sent his children to deliver his rejection. What kind of man? "Our dad's sorry he's late," the second twin interrupted her spiraling thoughts. His voice cracked slightly, and Emma noticed his hands were trembling. The first boy stepped closer, lowering his voice. "There was an accident. A bad one. Dad stopped to help, and now," he paused, looking at his brother for support. "Now he's at the police station," the second twin finished. Giving his statement. "He sent us with his driver to explain. He didn't want you to think he just didn't show up." Emma's anger dissolved instantly, replaced by concern and a dozen questions. "Are you boys okay? Where's this driver? You shouldn't be here alone." "We're right here, miss," the first boy said with a dignity that seemed far beyond his years. "Mr. Chen is parking the car. Dad said it was important we came to explain in person. He said." The boy's voice softened. "He said you deserved respect, and having his sons explain was better than a text message." Emma felt something shift in her chest. She pulled out 2 chairs. "Sit down, please. Tell me what happened." The twins exchanged glances and sat, their short legs swinging above the floor. The first twin, Emma noticed a small mole on his left cheek, began the story. "I'm Lucas," he said. "And this is Leo. We were driving to drop Dad off here when we saw this car flip over on the highway. It was scary. Really scary." Leo nodded, his eyes growing wide with the memory. "There was smoke everywhere. People were just driving past, but Dad told Mr. Chen to pull over. He ran to the car." Lucas continued, his voice filled with pride and lingering fear. "There was a woman trapped inside, and her daughter. Dad broke the window with a tire iron from our trunk. He cut his hand pretty bad, but he got them out. The car could have exploded," Leo added quietly. "That's what the police said later. But Dad just kept saying, someone's mother is in there. Someone's child. He wouldn't leave until they were safe." Emma's eyes stung. She reached across the table and took both boys' hands. "Your father is a very brave man. He's the best dad in the world," Lucas said fiercely. "After Mom died 3 years ago, he could have sent us to boarding school like his parents wanted. But he didn't. He said we'd lost enough already." Leo leaned forward. "He works really hard, but he always has breakfast with us. And he never misses our soccer games. Never. That's why we knew something serious must have happened tonight. He was so nervous about meeting you," Lucas added, a small smile breaking through his worried expression. "He changed his tie 3 times. Leo and I had to vote on which one looked best." Emma laughed through the tears now sliding down her cheeks. "Which one won?" "The blue one with tiny silver stripes," Leo said. "It brings out his eyes." That's what Lucas said, anyway. "I just thought it looked cool." The waiter appeared, looking uncertain about the 2 children now at Emma's table. She ordered hot chocolates for the boys and fresh coffee for herself, her dinner plans forgotten. "Tell me about your dad," she said. "What's he like?" The boys' faces lit up, and for the next 20 minutes, Emma learned about Alexander Chen, a man who read bedtime stories with different voices for each character, who couldn't cook to save his life but tried every Sunday anyway, who'd taught his sons that real strength meant helping others, even when it was inconvenient or scary. He works for a big tech company, Lucas explained. He's pretty important, I think. People are always calling him about meetings and deals. But he always says we're his most important meeting, Leo added. Even when he's super busy, he stops everything when we need him. Emma was learning more about Alexander Chen from his sons than she ever would have from a carefully curated dating profile. She saw his values reflected in these articulate, compassionate boys. She saw his priorities in their unwavering confidence that their father would want them cared for and Emma informed, even in an emergency. A commotion at the restaurant entrance drew their attention. A man rushed in, his dress shirt torn at the sleeve, a white bandage wrapped around his right hand, his blue striped tie slightly askew. His eyes scanned the room frantically until they landed on the boys, and then on Emma. Alexander Chen was handsome in an understated way, but what struck Emma most was the expression on his face: relief, exhaustion, and overwhelming love as he looked at his sons. Then his eyes met hers, and she saw something else, hope mixed with worry. "Boys," he said, reaching the table and immediately checking them over as if he hadn't seen them in days rather than hours. "Are you okay? Mr. Chen got you here safely." "We're fine, Dad," Lucas assured him. "We explained everything to Miss Emma." Alexander finally looked directly at her, and Emma saw the vulnerability beneath his composed exterior. "Miss Carter, I am profoundly sorry. This is not how I imagined our first meeting." Emma stood, surprising herself, and took his uninjured hand. "Are you okay?" The boys said someone was hurt in the accident. "They're both going to be fine, thanks to Dad," Leo said proudly. "I just did what anyone would do," Alexander said quietly, but his son's expression suggested otherwise. "Most people drove past," Emma said softly. "Your sons told me. You stopped when no one else would." Alexander's cheeks colored slightly. "I couldn't live with myself if I hadn't tried. But I should have called you, texted you, something." "You sent your sons," Emma interrupted. Which was actually much better than a text. She smiled at the boys, who beamed back at her. "They've been excellent company. And they've told me so much about you." "Oh no," Alexander said, though his eyes sparkled with humor. "Should I be worried?" "Only if you're not actually good at voice acting during bedtime stories," Emma teased. "Because they set the bar pretty high." The tension in Alexander's shoulders eased. "I do a pretty decent dragon," he admitted. "And my pirate voice isn't terrible." "His pirate voice is awesome," Leo corrected. The restaurant manager approached, clearly torn between concern and curiosity about the unusual gathering. Alexander quickly explained the situation and apologized for the disruption. Emma watched how he interacted with the staff, respectful, gracious, making sure they weren't inconvenienced by the drama. "Look," Alexander said, turning back to Emma, "I understand completely if you want to reschedule. Or if this whole evening has been too chaotic and you'd rather not." "Have you eaten?" Emma asked. He blinked. "What? You and the boys? Have you had dinner?" "Well, no, but..." "Then sit down," Emma said firmly, pulling out the empty chair that had mocked her earlier. "All of you. Let's have dinner together." Lucas and Leo erupted in excited whispers. Alexander looked at Emma as if she'd just performed a miracle. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. "This isn't exactly the romantic first date I'd planned." Emma looked at the twins' eager faces, at this man who'd risked his life for strangers and still worried more about disappointing her than his own injured hand, and felt something she hadn't felt in years: certainty. "I think it's exactly the first date we were meant to have," she said. "Besides, I've already heard so much about you from these two excellent character witnesses. I'd like to see if you live up to the hype." Over dinner, with two chattering 7-year-olds making sure neither adult had a chance to be nervous, Emma discovered that Alexander's favorite color was forest green, that he couldn't whistle, and that he'd taken up cooking lessons to give his sons better meals than takeout. Alexander learned that Emma taught second grade, that she volunteered at the children's hospital reading stories, and that she'd always wanted to learn to sail. As the boys finally wound down, their heads drooping toward their plates, Alexander looked at Emma with gratitude and something deeper in his eyes. "Thank you," he said simply. "For staying. For understanding. For giving me, a chance despite the chaos." Emma reached across the table and gently touched his bandaged hand. The best things in life are usually a little chaotic, she said. And besides, anyone can show up on time to a date. It takes someone special to save lives and still worry about disappointing a stranger. 6 months later, Emma would laugh remembering her despair at that empty chair, because sometimes the best things come in unexpected packages, or in her case, with two twin boys as messengers. The blind date had been empty, but what filled it afterward was more than she'd ever dared to hope for. A ready-made family bound by love, loyalty, and the simple courage to stop when others pass by.